All right, welcome everybody to Be in the Know, Table Games and More. I'm your host, Benny Mancino. I'm the BMan. And tonight I'm going to answer all these questions that I took the other night by private message. And there's a chat up here right now. If you want to add something to that, if I can get to it, I definitely will. I'm going to kind of delay here a bit because I had like 15 viewers, and then all of a sudden it went down to 2, and I don't really know what, not quite sure what happened. But you know what? I'm not going to delay long, and we're going to go and we're going to get to these questions. So my first question that I have on the page is from Scotland. I'm not going to give any names here because maybe you want to ask something that you don't want your boss or your mother or your sister or maybe your grandma to know. So I'm not going to get into names or who sent, but this came from Scotland. So the first question was, what's your customer base? Is it made up of locals or tourists? Well, our customer base here in Cincinnati is made up of mostly locals. I mean, we sit on the heart of it all in Ohio, sitting at the corner of I-75, which is a main route to from Michigan to Florida. So we definitely get a lot of transient traffic through here down I-71 to 75. So we may see anybody from anywhere, but the majority of our everybody comes to the door is local. So the next question is, have the level of customers dropped since the reopening? Well, I would say the number of people through the door has dropped, but our overall numbers are really pretty flat to last year. And being that we have about 50% of the slots open, and 3 and 4 seats on a table, that's pretty significant. I would say we're ahead. But I mean, is some of that the stimulus package? Is that some pent-up action? I don't know. We're not overrun like you've seen in California or some of these other properties. Indiana did open up 15 days before us. So they did kind of take a little bit of that pent-up frustration. I know Lawrenceburg had lines of 3 hours getting in the door for the first day. We never seen anything like that, but the first night we had a very, very good night, and we've had steady business ever since. Okay, let's see. Do you have to have more tables open than you usually would to allow for social distancing? Well, in Ohio, we put up a plan to the state, and one part of the plan was if we had plexiglass, we would be allowed to add to our occupancy levels versus non-plexiglass. So we didn't add any tables, but we did add seats. So we can have 4 players on a blackjack game versus some of the other properties in Ohio. So we did gain that. And that's a big deal. That extra player adds a lot. So, you're looking at maybe a win per hour of 145 an hour goes to like 180. So you can pay for that plexiglass in a big hurry. Let's move on down here. Last week on the show, you had Richard Marcus, and he spoke about what you might see in increases in cheating and advantage play during the reopening. Have you seen any evidence of that at the Hard Rock? No, not really. I mean, we've seen the typical pass poster and things we always see. And I think they're a little braver because of some of the plexiglass and some of the protection we're taking. But I don't see it's any more than usual. There may be some advantage play that's hit the door. I haven't noticed it yet. I'm sure they're coming, and I welcome them because we'll show them the door. That's just the way it is. You mentioned safe and sound a couple times during webinars and on your show. What exactly is that? Well, safe and sound is the protocols put by the Hard Rock International that we follow. It's, every player wears a mask no matter where they're at. Every employee wears a mask. We have plexiglass when we can get it on the tables where it's it works. We have plexiglass. We have probably more sanitizing stations than any casino in America at the Hard Rock properties. And you know what? We're doing the best we can. It's all mitigation, right? It's can we stop this virus? No, a vaccine can stop the virus. We can only mitigate. Then that brings, here's the next question to kind of, do you have any fear of your employees contracting the virus? You know what? It doesn't matter where you're at or what you're doing. You're going to have an employee contract the virus. It's just all there is to it. The good news is right now, if you look at the data, the cases are going through the sky. However, the hospitalizations and deaths have dropped considerably. The death levels in the United States are almost at the point of, like April, which is good news. It's good news. Can we go home with these people and tell them not to interact with their friends and party? And we can't do that. We can only mitigate when they're here at the property. And I think we're doing a really good job of it. But do you have fears of that? Yes. I would hate to see another shutdown. And I don't think it's going to happen. But you know what? We can't live in fear, and we need to go on. And like I said, I think the hospitalizations and the deaths are trending in the right direction. I'm no scientist. I'm hoping for the best. What operational levels did you change to improve the performance of the business constraints you now have to operate in? Well, you know what? I was kind of forced to change some levers because the Hard Rock International was so strong on the plexiglass. Now, I wasn't a big fan of plexiglass, and that leads into the next question. But, if that plexiglass allows me to deal to an extra spot, now I'm in favor of it. My philosophy is if I'm wearing a mask, you're wearing a mask, I wash my hands, you wash your hands. We're doing about as much mitigation as possible. But, let's face it, anything you put in front of your face right now that controls the ability to spread this disease is a good thing. And the plexiglass, you know what? It does that. It's another barrier, right? So I'm good with it. So that's one of the levers we pulled to make things happen. Another thing I did was, we have a bet called Hard Rock and Dice, which Hard Rock and Dice was originally on a few games, and it eliminates the hot bets. And hot bets, I believe, slow the game down. Last year we tried this bet on like 3 or 4 games, and we've seen a marked improvement in performance on the dice games we had it on. Now we have Hard Rock and Dice on every game, and it's only available Hard Rock Cincinnati. It's going to spread to some other Hard Rocks later on down the line, but right now it's only available at Hard Rock Cincinnati. So if you want to find out what Hard Rock and Dice is all about, you need to come here because you ain't going to find it nowhere else. You weren't initially a fan of plexiglass. I wasn't initially a fan of plexiglass because for the cost and the amount of mitigation, no. But if I can get an extra position, sure, I'm there. And the extra little bit of mitigation of the spread of the virus, I'm there. I'm with it. I'm good. It really doesn't. The only thing it does, it distracts from the interaction and with the guest. It's kind of sometimes hard to hear the dealer, especially if they got a low voice. And some players think, well, you're yelling at them. Well, you're not yelling at them. You're just trying to get their message across. I'm getting ready to answer 2 or 3 customer surveys where they thought, the dealer was yelling at them. Well, they're not yelling at them. They're just trying to make themselves heard over this plexiglass. Where did you get the plexi with those cool guitar necks? We didn't get the plexi with the cool guitar necks. We got the plexi and we put the cool guitar necks on them. The guitar necks, I asked, I said, hey, I'm hearing in Sacramento, people are running into this plexi and blah, 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 and the little sticker doesn't do it. I said, I need something the whole length of the end of the plexi. And my marketing team was to come up with the cool guitar necks. And I think a company called Service Pro, or anybody can make a dual-faced decal, can make that for you if you're thinking about going that way. But that's where the cool guitar necks came on the plexi. How has your ETG stadium business changed, if you can comment on it, since the reopening? Well, the ETGs are about the same. We just ordered some plexi for them, so we should increase business on them. We need them all open instead of every other one, and that's what we got right now. I expect the ETGs to perform. They do definitely start a little earlier. The business starts, ramping up a little earlier on them than it did. So, let's see. I'll relay the message. I was asked the question, what do you think the biggest downturn in this pandemic will be in the casino, and what will be the thing that'll prosper the most? And I was clear when I said that, I thought that poker would take the biggest hit, which it has so far. People are definitely using this pandemic to eliminate poker. And poker will come back. I mean, it definitely will. But poker is definitely taking a hit. ETGs are definitely going to prosper. What was your silver lining from the great lockdown? Well, you know what? For me, it was a chance to educate myself and slow down and take a look and realize again that I'm not in charge. I'm not making the decisions here. There's a greater power. And in an instant, it's all over. It's all over. So you know what? You need to make the best of every day. And you need to treat people kindly. Our motto at the Hard Rock is take time to be kind. If you're not doing that and you're not paying it forward, you're not living. End the story from the BMan. That's BMan philosophy only. Okay. Hollywood Toledo just opened, and the steps they have taken to be safe. I thought casinos would reconfigure the floor in order to keep more games open before turning off every other machine. Well, let me speak to that. You know what? Our coin in is not that bad. I mean, we're trending fairly flat, maybe a little bit down in coin in. But our win per unit has definitely went up, because I'll tell you something I'm seeing out there, and it doesn't matter whether it's table games or whether it's slots, I'm seeing a time on device increase. That milling around and hanging around and looking and watching, it can't happen. If somebody stands and congregates in the aisleway, I'm going to tell them to move on. I'm not going to sit there and allow them to just sit and congregate. So they find a table game or they find a slot, they sit down, and the time on device has definitely improved. Decisions per hour, less people on the game, things are going to happen. Time on device, big winner. I thought casinos would reconfigure the slot floor. So let me speak to that. It sounds like a good plan, but reconfiguring the slot floor, especially in a jurisdiction like Ohio, now it might be easier in Nevada, it may be easier in Missouri, but in Ohio, reconfigure a slot floor means reconfiguring your surveillance. We have to have a lot of facial recognition. So to do a major reconfigure where you could get every slot machine in action could cost $500,000 to $1 million. That's a big investment. That's a big investment after 3 months of downtime in a pandemic. Serious amount of investment, capital investment up front. So I don't see, I'm going to look at the chat. I don't see any other questions. I'll give it a couple seconds to see if anybody else comes up with anything else. But I think that's about it. Had a couple great Be in the Nose recently. Just had Jeff Hall on. In fact, Jeff is the number one video of all time, although it may not show it right now. I can see it on my dashboard. 150 total views in 24 hours is incredible. It was a good one. It was a good one. If you can see the previews on the channel, I got Willie Allison coming up next Sunday. We recorded that video yesterday. Really good. You know, we're talking about the World Game Protection Conference. Will it happen? Will it not? Don't know. Don't know. You know, right now in Nevada, really the gatherings is limited to 50. And although the casinos, of course, have a lot more than 50 people in it, what does that mean? You know, does that mean the G2E's gone? Does that mean the Table Games Conference is gone? You know, I'm scheduled to speak in the Table Games Conference. I'm very excited about it. I hope it goes. I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen to it. I am going to speak on the Caribbean Gaming Conference, which is coming up in August. It went totally virtual. Now this, in the course of the year, I get to speak there. It's totally virtual, right? I mean, I can't be on a sandy beach with a margarita or something like that. No, I'm going to be virtual, sitting here in my shorts with Budweiser. Although if I don't drink Budweiser, but if I did, that's how it would happen. But yeah, anyway, I got invited to speak there. That's pretty exciting. So I'm really hoping that the Table Games Conference is a go. Man, I hope so. I really do. Well, I want to thank everybody for their questions. I want to thank the up to 10 people that were here for the live broadcast. I'm going to do more of these. I'm trying to get the science of all this down. I just downloaded OBS, which is the open source broadcasting software. I'm learning more every day about editing. It's good at this age to learn to do things, right? I mean, you got to keep your mind sharp. So I want to thank everybody who stopped in tonight. The recording will be up, I'm sure, as soon as I end this stream. It'll go up as a recording. And those of you who missed maybe part of it or the start of it, or you had some technical difficulty, I don't know what happened. We had 10, and boom, all we had 4 or 5. So thanks for stopping in. We'll see you next time, and always remember to be in the know.